Assalamualaikum and hi. My name is Atiqah Fatihah Binti Zakaria.
Assalamualaikum and hi. My name is Azra Dayana Binti Jalaluddin.
Assalamualaikum and a very good day. My name is Aziera Eliya Binti Sunaili.
Hi and Assalamualaikum. My name is Siti Aisyah Binti Zuhari.
Assalamualaikum and a very good day. Today, our group will make a presentation on segmental report and also interim report for the company Oriental Holding Berhad. The presentation will consist of two parts, Part A and Part B. For Part A segmental reporting, we will present on company background, management approach, reproduce segmental report, and lastly, the conclusion. For the presentation Part B, interim report, we will make a presentation based on the basis of preparation, accounting policies, type of interim report, period for the each statement, and lastly, proposed adjustment. Let's start the presentation with the company background first. Oriental Holding Berhad, or known as OHB, is a company that owns motor vehicle part manufacturing, automobile dealers, and also management of companies and enterprises. The company main activity of the group's automotive segment is the distribution and also retailing of Honda cars and spare parts. OHB was founded by Tan Sri Datuk Loh Bun Siu and it was established on 24th of December 1963. Tan Sri Datuk Loh Bun Siu, also known as Mr. Honda of Malaysia because of the close association with Honda Motors. The company was established as a private limited company before converting it into public company. Currently, the company is led by Datuk Loh Kian Chong, who is a group of chairman and assisted by group managing directors and also Datuk Seri Lim Su Tong. Oriental Holding Berhad, a diversified group comprising 71 subsidiaries and 13 associated companies with business activities in the countries such as Malaysia, Singapore, Indonesia, Brunei, Australia, New Zealand, United Kingdom, Mauritius, People's Republic of China, and Vietnam.
Next, I will explain about the management approach. It consists of factors to be considered in having segment reporting, type of segment, and identifying the chief of decision maker and its responsibility. Firstly, we are going to discuss factors to be considered in having segment reporting. To identify the operating segment, the chief operating decision maker will look into these factors. First, the nature of business activity. Second, the existence of manager responsible for the activities. In each operating segment, it usually has a segment manager who is directly accountable to and maintains regular contact with the chief operating decision maker to discuss, plan and forecast operating activities for each segment and to view the financial result. The information provided to the board. The chief operating decision maker shall refer to the report assessed by the board of directors since it consists of reliable information regarding the overall performance of the entity. As we all know, a company may run various kinds of business that produce and provide different kinds of product and service. Therefore, the company should prepare financial report in which its business activity are presented in varieties of ways. It includes, first, the nature of the product or service. Oriental Holding Berhad nature of business activities are on both of the product and service. The company operates the major business on automotive and related product, plastic product, hotel and resort, plantation, investment holding, investment properties, and trading of the building material product and healthcare. For the nature of the production process, from all business segments in Oriental Holding Berhad, only 3 business segments are involved in the nature of production process. These are automotive and related product, plastic product, and investment properties. Third, the class of customers in Oriental Holding Berhad are business to business, since business activities in Oriental Holding Berhad are mostly involved in manufacturing, retail, healthcare, education, and plantation. For the hotel and resort, the class of the customer is business to consumer. There are 2 types of segment in Oriental Holding Berhad, which consists of business segment and geographical segment. Business segment is the activities that the entity engage, since a company may operate different product lines or service. In Oriental Holding Berhad, there are 7 types of business segments, which are automotive and related product, plastic product, hotel and resort, plantation, investment holding, investment property and trading of business material product, and lastly, healthcare. For the geographical segment, an entity may operate in countries that represent different geographical locations within a particular economic environment. Oriental Holding Berhad has a geographical segment in the Asia-Pacific region that comprises Malaysia, Singapore, Brunei, Australia, New Zealand, United Kingdom, Mauritius, Thailand, People's Republic of China and Vietnam. The Chief of Decision Making is a person given the function or responsibility to decide the allocation of resources to each segment and to assess the performance of the all operating segment of an entity. By referring to Oriental Holding Berhad's annual report, we can conclude that the Chief of Decision Making is managed by a Group Managing Director and Senior Management. Meaning to say, each segment in the entity is managed by a different person who is Executive Director and they only focus on their segments. These Executive Directors as well as Executive Chairman function as Group Managing Director and Key Senior Management in Oriental Holding Berhad. As we can see, Datuk Robert Wong Lung Kong, responsible for automotive and related product and plastic product. Ms. Tan Keng is responsible for the hotel and resort segment. Datuk Loh Kian Chon and Datuk Sri Lim Sun Tong are responsible for 3 segments, consist of investment holding, plantation and investment properties, and trading of building material product. Meanwhile, for the healthcare segment, it is under the responsibility of Datuk Sri Datuk Wira Tan Hyun Jin. Here are the responsibilities of the Chief of Decision Making. Firstly, to develop a strategic plan, annual operating plan and budget, performance benchmark to gauge management performance and the analysis of management report. Secondly, to direct and control all aspects of the business operation in a cost-effective manner, covering operational requirements, best technological practice and high level of productivity. And lastly, the flexibility to cope with the plan development and awareness of marketplace opportunity and threat.
Next, I will present about the process to identify reportable segments and non-reportable segments. There are 3 processes, which are: firstly, identify the business different operation or components. This is because sometimes company will have different types of product or service. Secondly, recognize the operating segment, which is a company of an entity. And thirdly, identify reportable segments or non-reportable segments by using 10% or 75% threshold test. For 10% threshold test, it contains 3 quantitative thresholds we can use, which are revenue basis, profit basis and asset basis. While for 75% threshold test, we can calculate by using formula external revenue of reportable segments divided by total revenue to know whether the existing reportable segments exceed 75% or not. For Oriental Holding Berhad, we decide to use an asset basis for the percentage to identify the reportable segments and non-reportable segments. Based on the table for 10% threshold test by using asset basis, there are 4 reportable segments because it exceeds 10% and above, which are automotive and related product 35%, hotels and resort 12%, plantation 29%, and investment property and trading of building material product 12%. While there are 3 non-reportable segments because does not exceed 10% and above, which are plastic product 3%, investment holding 7% and healthcare 2%. Let's move to the calculation by using 75% threshold test. Based on the table that contain a reportable segments determined by using 10% threshold test, it shows that the total external revenue of reportable segment constitute more than 75%, which is 99.95%. So as a result, the 4 operating segments that become a reportable segments before will still become a reportable segments. The new reportable segments that contain automotive and related product, hotel and resort, plantation, investment property and trading of building material product will be inserted into 3 segments, which are revenue segments, profit loss segments and asset segment. Firstly, for revenue segments, the total from external and internal revenue is 1,498,838. Secondly, profit loss segments, the total profit before taxation is 232,071. And lastly, asset segments, the total assets after addition amount for adjustment is 895,6921.
In conclusion, to document the performance of each business segment, the company used segment reporting. By using segment reporting, there are some advantages and disadvantages to the company. First of all, the advantages of segment reporting for Oriental Holdings Berhad are giving better understanding about the financial statements. Financial statement analysts will be able to obtain a clear understanding of the changes that may affect overall figures for each segment by using segment reporting. For examples, if a company's earnings are significantly higher than predicted, segment reporting might reveal where those profits are coming from. As a stakeholder, they were given some time to examine the same report in order to see if the figures are reliable. Next, segment reporting only applies to public companies as it is to give companies, shareholders and investors respect. For those private and non-publicly funded company, there's no need for them to do a segment report as the Securities and Exchange Commission (SEC) only mandates to all public companies to do a segment report. A private corporation may have no incentive to prepare a segment report. On the other hand, they may not be able to tell how much its segment are making if such a report is not complete. Segment report for sure will help the company in identifying the profit-making and loss-making units. The disadvantage of segment reporting is misinterpretation data. In the event where inter-segment sales transferred are included, in this situation, if the company's earnings are significantly higher than consolidated, then it may lead to misinterpretation by investors or creditors. Aside from that, there is also another issue in the case of determining segment cost. It is quite simple and easy in finding the traceable cost of a segment. However, the true challenge emerges when determining the share of segment costs incurred from a shared cost which involves two or more segments. The other disadvantage of segment reporting is difficulty in providing data. The difficulty of determining segment information should be considered as those problems affect the possibility of disclosing specific information. Each base of segmentation has their own issues and limitations because each base creates segment variously. When the company looks at the statement of profit and loss account, the company will immediately trouble with the sales figure, especially the sales between segments. Basis of preparation segment reporting. The interim financial report is unaudited and has been prepared in compliance with FAR570 interim financial reporting and the additional disclosure requirements as in Part A of Appendix 9B of the revised listing requirements. The interim financial report should be read in conjunction with the most recent annual audited financial statements of the group for the year ended 31st December 2020. These explanatory notes provide an explanation of events and transactions that are significant to an understanding of the changes in the financial position and performance of the group since the year ended 31st December 2020. The accounting policies and methods of computation adopted by the group in this interim financial report are consistent with the most recent annual audited financial statements for the year ended 31st December 2020. MFRS, amendment to MFRS, and IC interpretations issued but not yet effective. First, amendments to MFRS 16 leases, COVID-19 related rent concession. In 2020, MFRS 16 lease was amended to provide an optional practical expedient to the lessees but not lessor on accounting for COVID-19 related rent concessions, such as rent holidays and temporary rent reductions, of which payments are originally due on or before 30th June 2021. Lessees that had already applied the 2020 practical expedient would be required to apply the 2021 amendment to all lease contracts with similar characteristics and in similar circumstances. In contrast, Lessees that had not applied the 2020 practical expedient are not allowed to apply the 2021 amendment. The amendments are to be applied retrospectively with the cumulative effect of initial application recognised in the opening balance of retained earnings of the first year application. Second, amendments to MFRS 9 Financial Instruments, MFRS 139 Financial Instruments Recognition and Measurement, MFRS 7 Financial Instruments Disclosure, MFRS 4 Insurance Contract, and MFRS 16 Lessees Interest Rate Benchmark Reform Phase 2. The Interest Rate Benchmark Reform Phase 2 amends some specific requirements with respect to issues that affect financial reporting during the reform of an interest rate benchmark. The amendments provides a practical expedient whereby a company will not derecognize or adjust the carrying amount of financial instruments for modifications required by interest rate benchmark reform, but will instead update the effective interest rate to reflect the change in interest rate benchmark.
Two accounting policies used in preparing the interim report. Oriental Holding Berhad used MFRS 116 Property, Plant and Equipment for PPE. PPE is being measured at its cost less any accumulated depreciation and any accumulated impairment loss in accordance with MFRS 116 Property, Plant and Equipment. Depreciation is based on the cost of an asset less its residual value and recognized in profit or loss on a straight line basis over the estimated useful life. Second, Oriental Holding Berhad used MFRS 102 for inventories. All inventories are measured at the comparison of its cost and net realizable value, whichever is lower in accordance with MFRS 102 inventories. Net realizable value is the estimated selling price in the ordinary course of business, less the estimated cost of completion and the estimated cost of necessary to make the sales.
For the types of interim report, Oriental Holdings Berhad used quarterly report that consists of condensed consolidated statement of financial position as at 30th June 2021, condensed consolidated statement of profit or loss and other comprehensive income for the period ended 30th June 2021, condensed consolidated statement of changes in equity for the period ended 30th June 2021, and condensed consolidated statement of cash flow for the period ended 30th June 2021.
Next, I will present about the period for the current and comparative of each statement prepared by Oriental Holding Berhad. For your information, the year ended for Oriental Holding Berhad is 31st December, the first quarter 31st March, second quarter 30 June, third quarter 30 September and fourth quarter 31st December. Firstly, for interim statement of financial position as at 30 June 2021, the current period is 6 months, which is from 1 January 2021 to 30 June 2021, while the comparative is 12 months, which is from 1 January 2020 to 31st December 2020. Secondly, for interim others comprehensive income for the quarter ended 30 June 2021, the current period and cumulative current financial year to date is 6 months, which is from 1 January 2021 to 30 June 2021, while for the comparative current and comparative year to date is 6 months, which is from 1 January 2020 to 30 June 2020. Thirdly, for interim statement of changes in equity for period ended 30 June 2021, the cumulative is 6 months, which is from 1 January 2021 to 30 June 2021, while comparative is 6 months, which is from 1 January 2020 to 30 June 2020. Lastly, for interim statement of cash flows for the quarters ended 30 June 2021, the current period is 6 months, which is from 1 January 2021 to 30 June 2021, while for comparative is 6 months, which is from 1 January 2020 to 30 June 2020.
Is proposed two adjustments for the company. The first adjustment is about inventories. As at 30 June 2021, the cost of inventories is at 250,354,000. Meanwhile, the net realizable value is at 235,228,000. According to MFRS 102, the value of inventories that need to be recorded by the company must add lower of cost and net realizable value. So, as at 30 June 2021, the value of inventories of Oriental Holding Berhad is at 235,228,000, which is at net realizable value. Second adjustment is trade receivable. As at 30 June 2021, the gross amount of trade receivable is at 282,839,000. However, Oriental Holding Berhad estimated that 80% will be the collectible amount. So, the amount that need to be reported by the company is at 226,271,200. Lastly, let me show you the effect of before and after the adjustment for the abstract statement of financial position Oriental Holding Berhad as at 30 June 2021. For the trade receivables, 80% is the collectible amount and the remaining of the uncollectible amount, which is amounted at 56,567,800 will be deducted against the gross amount of 282,839,000, which resulted in estimated amount of trade receivable of 226,271,200. Next is effect for the inventories. Due to adoption of MFRS 102, the company need to recognize the inventories at lower of cost and net realizable value. So the value of inventories will decrease by Rm 56,568,000.